welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danique. Along with me, we have Nathan Adams, who is a sophomore cadet at West Point, and so proud of you and what you're doing at West Point, and also just the representation that you have for St. Mary Parish. But I must say that you're actually maybe my second West Point cadet that I've interviewed. So again, just congratulations to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you having me on today.
Yep, and it's not your first time on TV. You are an alumnus of South Louisiana Quiz Bowl right here at KWBJ. And before we move on, for folks who may be listening to my voice, it's just a little raspy. Not sick, but we're going to get through this interview with Nathan because he has a lot to share with us about West Point. So first, my question is, why did you choose West Point, or did West Point choose you?
Yes, ma'am. So the biggest thing for me throughout all of this was I think West Point just has like this greater purpose because I always want to go and help give back. It like changed throughout the years of what that looked like, but West Point is training people to go from a civilian to an officer. And I think there's just something so amazing about being able to go and like serve others and really help guide them throughout the thing or throughout the matters that soldiers have to deal with.
So this is actually not your very first time really just serving others. You are a Hanson Memorial graduate, and I would maybe, and I knew you before you were a West Point cadet. I would say that you were a pretty well-rounded student, would you say?
Yes, ma'am.
And where do you get that drive from? Is it from mom, dad? Where did it come from?
Yes, ma'am. So I think it came from both my parents, but specifically it was I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and I just grew up being very competitive. I didn't like to let them beat me, especially against my older brother because he did phenomenal, especially in school and a lot of other areas. So I had that like internal drive to beat him, and it's carried over to where I am here at West Point and just in general of a lot of facets of my life.
Would you say military runs in your DNA? Because I do know, as you've told me prior to us doing the actual interview, your sister is a senior at West Point.
Yes, ma'am.
That's phenomenal that you have your sister there. So that's a family connection.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. So military definitely has quite a few backings. My dad served as a combat medic, and then both my grandfathers were in. I've got several cousins, and like you said, my sister is there currently, and she actually acted as a bit of an inspiration for me because beforehand I was planning on going to one of the local universities or areas around here to study biomedical engineering, but whenever my sister applied to West Point and got in, it kind of opened my eyes to different things that could come here and the opportunities offered by West Point. So after doing a little bit of research, I applied, and here we are.
Now, of course, having your sister there and then growing up with her, you mentioned a little bit about sibling rivalry. Are there any goals that you have that you want to accomplish and say, I got one up on my big sister?
Yes, ma'am. So I know one big goal for me is I plan on going to grad school at some point, and I would love to go to grad school right after. And just really trying to get a better class rank than she'll end up with.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, please keep in touch with us and let us know how that goes.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So tell me a little bit about a day in the life as a cadet at West Point, because I think in my mind, and maybe even others, we think of the movies. We think, you're sleeping in cots in a big open space. What is it like a day as a cadet at West Point?
Yes, ma'am. So generally speaking, it can vary from person to person, but it ends up being some mixture of formations, mandatory meals for breakfast and lunch, and then you'll have classes in between those. And then typically it's wrapped up with either some type of brief or some type of athletic practice. So those will be in the afternoons after all of your classes. And then once you're done with that, it's just a lot of homework.
Oh, wow. So is there downtime for you?
Yes, ma'am. So it really all depends on how you balance your time. So some people do it a lot better than others. But I think in general, if you stay on top of your work and if you keep things together, you generally have the evenings. I don't want to say the evenings are off, but they're a lot more relaxed and you can find some downtime there. Or if you have a class drop, you can also get some downtime throughout your day. It really comes down to how well do you manage time.
Who is West Point for?
I think West Point is particularly for someone who has a drive and is an all around. But I think even further than that, it's for those who want to serve as their nation. So it depends on how it goes, but really and truly, it's someone who wants to help others and is willing to take corrections and just do whatever they can to influence those and support those who have supported them.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nathan, definitely for serving our country. I know there's a lot more to come from this. You're just in your sophomore year,
Yes, ma'am.
but there's a lot I want to know about what it is like at West Point, and what is Nathan like at West Point. So come on back. We've got much more to cover right here on the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Let's get right back into it. We have Nathan Adams, who is a sophomore cadet at West Point. I think that's pretty exciting, very interesting. What are you studying?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm currently majoring in mechanical engineering with a minor in Russian. Just studying those, and yes, ma'am.
So that's a very interesting combination. So I'll go right into why Russian?
Yes, ma'am. So growing up in South Louisiana, I had a background in like Spanish and French and just like general random things. Like my grandfather used a lot of phrases, or just general, my mom teaches Spanish. But I haven't had a great formal education in either of those areas. So at West Point, you are mandated to do some type of foreign language study. And I got assigned Russian. And going into the class for the first day, I was like, okay, this is just going to be a boring class that I kind of have to get through. But like, I went into class and I absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed it. And from that point on, I was like, okay, maybe I'll do a study abroad. So I applied. I'll end up going next spring semester. And after that, I was like, I might as well just minor in it. And yes, ma'am.
As someone who was pretty conversational in Spanish, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
do you plan on using it, in your career, post West Point?
Yes, ma'am. So as my general career, I don't think it will be directly applicable just because I'm trying to go engineers and it's not as varied. I'm sure it'll come up occasionally, but in general, it probably won't apply as much. I do have family members who speak Russian, but in terms of a career, I don't think it will apply as much.
So you will still be able to use it,
Yes,
in
ma'am.
conversation with family members. That's great. So
Absolutely.
it'll always be a part of you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what happens after graduation? Are you given an assignment, or do you apply? And in addition to that, what branch would you choose? Because most times when people think about West Point, they think Army, just solely
ma'am.
Army. But there are other branches that you can choose from, correct?
Correct. So the way it works is 99% of West Point will end up going Army, but you have the opportunity to cross commission into one of the other branches. So you can go to like Air Force or Navy or something like that. However, one thing that's not talked about as much is in the Army, there are like several branches. Like there's a bunch of different areas. So you have infantry, you have engineers, finance, logistics, so on and so forth. And so I plan on going to the engineer branch and serving my time there, because at West Point, you don't pay while you're there. The way you pay is you go and serve time in the Army. So the minimum commitment is 5 years in the active duty and 3 years in the reserve. So once I graduate from West Point, I plan on commissioning into the engineer branch and serving my time through them.
If I may ask, do you see this as a lifelong career?
To be frank, I'm not entirely sure. Okay. I don't like the idea of getting stuck in saying that like I'll go for life or I won't, because ironically I find someone who says they'll go 20 ends up going 5 and vice versa.
Okay.
So my goal is to go, say I'll do around like 8 or so to get through company command. And once I've spent 3 or 4 years in the service itself, that's when I'll determine if I want to re-enlist if I want to extend my contract.
For some kid who's actually watching you right now, say, "Oh, I know him," or "He went to my high school," what would you say to them? And tell them about your life at West Point. Why should they choose West Point or make it an option?
Yes, ma'am. So really and truly, West Point comes down to being willing to serve something greater than yourself. And I think one of the things I've learned here is you have so much more potential than you even realize. And at West Point, you'll meet the type of people that will push you to greater heights, and you'll meet some of the most amazing people you'll ever see in your life. And they have so many good things that can push you and show you new limits that you're like, 2 or 3 years ago, I never would have imagined being able to do some of the things I can do now.
Really, really quickly, do you see other people from Louisiana? Is there a community there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In fact, the Louisiana Parents Club is very involved there, and it's been great to see other cadets there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and it's so good to have you back, but on this side.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
we wish you luck, best wishes for you and your career. Well, guys, we'll see you guys next time. Make sure to subscribe to us on Facebook. We are KWBJ TV 22. You guys take care. Hello and welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danique. Along with me, we have Charles Ganchon and also Greg Gaddis, both of whom represent Greenhulk PWC Performance. They're also wearing the shirts Mudbug Nationals, and this is the very first time that we're seeing this type of racing in Morgan City. Now, if you're familiar with the racings on Lake and Park with the boats, well, this is something a little bit different. It's actually jet skis, so it's a little more personal, right, with the individuals. But we're expecting a really big crowd. Like, how many people are going to be out at Lake and Park, actually racing?
Well, I'd expect roughly 60 competitors, and a lot of them will compete in multiple classes over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay. And then as far as spectators, man, we're hoping the whole town comes out to watch.
Okay, and I guarantee you'll pull people from other nearby parishes once they start hearing about this. But there's also something called a rec race. So that in itself is going to be more people on the water. Can you tell me more about it?
So for the last 20 years, we've been doing what we call Mudbug Nationals, which is our recreational ride. So that's pretty much anyone with a jet ski can come out and ride with us. So we'll be doing a big group ride Wednesday and Thursday, and also doing a race specifically for them on Friday. So this is going to be people that have never raced before, but did ride with us, and they'll be eligible for a $1,000 cash prize.
Okay, that's awesome. I wish I could do it, but see me and jet skis. The last time I was on one, I was holding for dear life, so I couldn't do it. But I think it's wonderful to see. Now, Greenhulk is local, so we're happy to have you here. But you are also worldwide, so you're expecting some of those racers to come from all over the world.
Absolutely. So our store is an online business, so we have customers all over the world, and we're actually getting racers as far as Vietnam that'll be here for this event. Of course, we're going to have plenty throughout the country, from almost coast to coast, but having foreign riders here, that's a great plus as well.
And speaking of which, I mean, foreign riders not being used to not only the weather, but also our waters. Why Lake and Park?
Lake and Park, I'll tell you what, I've had the privilege to race in venues all the way from California to Florida. Lake and Park is special. It's one of the nicest RV parks in Louisiana. So there's places to camp right by the beach. There's 1,000 feet of sandy beach and a nice big lake that gets choppy. That is like heaven for jet ski racers. Okay. Then on top of that, the management for the park and the management for the city have been so nice to work with. So when you combine all that along with the swamp trails that we have around here, I've been hoping to bring a jet ski race here for a few years now.
Okay, we'd love to see it, and I think the people really like to get out. They want to be out in nature, because we do have a beautiful scenery. Now, one other thing, cha-ching, how much is it to, what's the admission?
So if you want to just come out here and be a spectator, absolutely free. No charge to enter the park. If anything, the jet ski racers would love to have more people out there. I think the city's actually going to be setting up a grandstands for people to watch. Awesome. And we do live stream our races on YouTube. So free to come and participate. But however, if you're sitting at home and you have a jet ski and you might be interested, the rec ride is absolutely free. Come on out. And even the racing, We have a beginner class. So if you're like, I think I could be kind of quick, come on out. We'll give you a tutorial. There'll be practice, and we'd love to have you on the track for the beginner classes.
So if you got it sitting in there, just go ahead and pull that tarp off and dust it off, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, aside from the racing, we will have food trucks, vendors, drinks to be purchased. So even if you want to watch, there's something other than racing to do. So
Now, I'm just curious, what about safety, security? Is that going to be on the water as well?
Sure. So this type of racing is what's known as closed course racing. So there will be one group that leaves the beach at the same time when the light goes off. So if you've seen Formula One races where the light goes off, that's when they start. And the track goes in one direction through buoys. We have multiple course marshals on the track. We'll have the race director in the tower. We'll have Morgan City Police monitoring the perimeter. So typically we run an entire weekend with no injuries. If there is a wreck, 90% of the time it's self-inflicted.
Okay. That would be me. I would be that person. But all right, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with more. You guys come on back to the Voice of the Coast with yours truly. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Let's get right back into it because it's very intriguing. It's also very nice to know that we have Mudbug Nationals, which is a personal watercraft ski type of race. Now let's go through that. I've been saying jet skis, I may say sea-doos, but please, if you can, define exactly what that looks like.
Sure, yeah, and I definitely appreciate that. There's a lot of terminology here. Even among jet ski racers, they don't get all of the terminology. But there is a class for just about every type of personal watercraft out there. So if you come out, you will see a vintage class with some of the Kawasaki 550s that folks might remember from the 70s that are stand-up skis, all the way up to modern stand-up jet skis that'll do 75 miles an hour built by aftermarket race companies. You will also see your traditional runabout skis that have seats on them that might hold 3 people. So every class, every age group, men and women will both be out there.
What's the youngest?
I mean, we will have a junior beginner class out there for folks that I think are under the age of 12. So we've had folks as young as 8 on the track. When they're that young, they kind of get special treatment on the track. But we have a very robust junior classes. So we're talking 10 to 12s, 13 to 15s, et cetera. Some of the fastest racers out there are 16 to 18-year-olds.
Come on, okay. Now something you mentioned earlier, said you raced. I heard you said you were a racer. Are either one of you racers?
So I don't race them, I just build them for racers, and
Okay.
then he's going to be racing this weekend.
Okay, so you have some championship belts under you?
No,
I'm saying
ma'am.
belts, I don't know, but prizes?
My motto is look fast.
Okay.
I'll look very fast, and I really enjoy myself out
Gotcha.
there, but I am not going to be in the contention for any type of winning. But this is a hometown grassroots league.
Gotcha.
The majority of our racers are out there because they're passionate and they enjoy it. We will have some national champions competing out there, but the majority of us are having a good time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, can they trick out their watercraft?
Yeah.
Or is that
so,
permitted?
So what I do primarily is modifying them.
Okay.
So I would take like a sea-doo that most people would call it on a showroom floor, and then we're going to modify it every step of the way to make it handle better, make it accelerate harder, and make it reach a much higher top speed.
Right.
So a top-of-the-line Sea-Doo that you would buy today, it's 300 to 325 horsepower, but some of them racing out there is going to be 700 plus horsepower, running nearly 100 miles an hour. So yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Oh my goodness, that kind of scares me, but it looks like it'll be fun.
Oh,
Looks like it'll be fun.
they're loud, they make wonderful noises. It really is a lot of adrenaline riding them and watching them. So yeah.
How long are the races?
It's going to depend on the class, but this is closed course racing, so everybody's going in the same direction around a track that has lefts and rights. We call them moto. Each race is going to be probably in the range between 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the class. A lap might be somewhere between 1 minute and 2 minutes, depending on the class.
So of course my mind is thinking NASCAR. Are they going around in laps or?
Is there like more of a course or I mean,
Closer to Formula One in there, meaning that we don't just turn left. There'll be
Okay.
lefts and rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
And
like
they're-
a go-kart track where
Yes.
there's all kinds of
They-
turns.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. For my little mind, you got to
Yeah.
give me that. That sounds
Yeah.
good. What you say you have to explain it so that a grandmother. I'm not a
Yeah.
grandmother, but
But I tell you what, the most exciting thing to watch in these races is the start. Because some of the bigger classes will have 15 skis lined up, elbow to elbow
On the beach.
on the beach. Everybody's holding their ski, and you go from there. And so it's watching all of these skis going out together and who's fighting to get around the first buoy.
oh, sounds exciting but
Yes.
scary. But tell me the dates, please, really quickly. The dates.
So it'll be this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be the racing, and the recreational riding will be this Wednesday and Thursday.
Give me those dates. You have the dates?
It's 28th,
Yeah.
29th, and 30th?
Yeah,
at Lake
that's
End
it.
Of
Park.
March. All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. We'll see you guys next time.